everybody. I'm gonna do a little screen sharing here so you don't get to see my face. You're welcome. But I swear, what did that lawyer say this week? I'm not a cat. I am here live. I am not a cat. Um, so I'm going to talk about the progress we made when we weren't making progress. So I feel, that we've heard some stories of some folks that seem like their project is really well put together, and I love that, and I'm a little jealous. But I've come to terms over the past year with some ways in which our project is not what I thought it would be, but is maybe something greater. So that's what I'd like to talk about. Um, I'm going to shortchange my friends here because I do know that we are running a little short on time. So I will just introduce you to Barbara Brown Wilson there on the left and Siri Russell on the right. This is a video that they produced and put up on the website of the University of Virginia Equity Center, talking about the Equity Atlas project and basically explaining to you what our hopes and goals for the project were. And they are two of our partners with this. Siri represents the Albemarle County Office of Inclusion and Equity. And so she's one of our best friends with this. So what were we trying to do? Well, we were trying to make something mappy that would give a lot of information about equity in our region. And we wanted to gather information from community partners, organizations, and help make it more accessible and more actionable within our community. And here's what we came up with sort of in the first year of our grant. We were iterating, we were experimenting, we were coding. We had great goals for 2020. 2020 was going to be where everything happened. This is what happened in 2020 to us as well as everybody else, I think. And so personally, I really struggled with this. I struggled with sort of feeling like I had lost our connection to some of our partners. One of our great partners was the Thomas Jefferson Health District. You can imagine they got a little busy. And we haven't heard from them in some time. So things just sort of turned sideways. And personally, of course, 2020 was also just really hard. It was hard to be doing this kind of work and watching the world around us. So at the end of 2020, this is what it looked like, right? Pretty much the exact same. Um, so if I had to give us a grade on that and that alone, I probably would have done like a D plus. It was not what we had hoped, right? We wanted to build a lot more, and we wanted to do that in consultation with our partners. But I was encouraged to sort of look around and see, okay, so while we weren't working on this, what was going on? So what was going on was that we were working with some of our partners on other much needed data projects. So they actually came to us and said, hey, you've been talking about data. You've got people that do data stuff. This is what we need right now. And so we totally pivoted and abandoned our mappy thing. And we worked for them on information that was relevant to COVID. So this is racial breakdown of frontline jobs in order to help explain to our local community what was happening and how impact of frontline jobs during the COVID pandemic had huge racial implications in our community. We also were approached to collaborate with some of our partners on other data projects. So this is Charlottesville Police. This is stop and frisk data for Charlottesville, basically. One of our collaborators, a local journalist, Jordy Yeager, is doing some amazing mappy work with us, but also wrote this story about living in Charlottesville as a person of color and what that means in a lot of different aspects. And to back that story up, we really worked with him to visualize some important data and to build stories around it. And that is one of the important things that was a goal for us with the Equity Atlas, was not just to make a map of data, but to make a map of data that tells stories and is part of stories, so that we're not weaponizing data, we are actually, contextualizing it. Other things that happened while nothing was happening, um, we continued to work with the university, different classes, different instructors to say, if you are producing work about our local community in your class, for goodness sake, give it back to our local community. And so this is just a screenshot from our institutional repository where we've started to get much more sort of general student work that has to do with our local community. This is a spatial audit of the Charlottesville parks. It was done, basically they were looking at how accessible are these to folks in wheelchairs or other sorts of physical challenges. And you can see that since it was deposited, it's been downloaded 276 times. This is the kind of paper that usually disappeared after a semester or was only held by the faculty member after grades were given out in the past. We also have become very tight partners with our equity center. So the library actually will, in theory, have some desk hours when those things become real again at what is a newly opened community partnership office for the university. It's located in downtown Charlottesville, and it will have some hours where community members can come and talk to us in the library about anything that we do. That could be tracking down resources that are in our print collections, or it could be things like, can we help you with your data projects? So this is one way in which the partnerships we established around the Equity Atlas project have now turned into partnerships in physical spaces as well. We had some staffing changes that actually are indications of the strength of the bonds that we've got. Ben Allen actually was one of the recipients of one of our mini grants to our community to help build capacity for data sharing in community organizations. He was working at a local school at that time and wanted to share some equity data. They actually ended up not completing their mini grant work because Ben left and became the executive director of the Equity Center at UVA. I'll take that as a win that he started to believe in our mission and really trust us as an institution. Michelle Claiborn, who some of you met in the first visits that we did with ABCD, she actually just left the library last month and is now also fully employed by the Equity Center and is now their lead data scientist. So we lost our library data person, but gave her to a full-time role with the Equity Center partnership. Other things, well, we've started to have more impact within other library work. So this is a digital humanities project that was done by our Digital Humanities Center. And while in the past they did sort of fluffy projects or your traditional sort of historic digital humanities, this time they actually worked with the Equity Center and our Equity Atlas project and looked at the university's role in land ownership locally and the impact that that had had from an equity standpoint. So that was a really interesting way to turn other work that the library was doing toward this goal. And one of our best wins that we've had is that the city, county, and UVA all have signed a joint memorandum, an MOU promoting equity. And if you read in the small print right in the middle near that little arrow, it does say use available tools such as the Equity Atlas to assess these. And so even though the tool itself is still in a period of change and new directions, it is already being embraced by the community because they have trust that we are going to be building it together. So here's a little quote from Lao Tzu. By letting it go, it all gets done. Wait, I've got to move my little, okay. The world is won by those who let it go. But when you try and try, the world is beyond the winning. And that really, helps me, right? I kept thinking about the thing that we had tried to build. And when I look back over the past year and the things that have happened that are not the thing we tried to build, it's really a much richer story of the collaborations that we've been building. Let's see. So Here's, a little visual for you, right? I think what we've done successfully is actually place the Equity Atlas into the hands of our community members, right? We have a good shared ownership of it, and that means that it hasn't moved as fast as maybe I had envisioned when I wrote this grant with my partners, but it means that it's building alongside other things that are just as, if not more important. So I add those things in here. And then I looked at this image again and I was like, no, it's still not right. Because the important thing isn't the things that have been built or that we hope to keep building. It's actually this. I think this is the most important thing that we've built, which is all of the hands together who are now working together to support each other and to support this ongoing effort. And those partnerships are going to continue to manifest themselves in different ways and toward different goals, but they are established, and that's been shown throughout the pandemic. It's been shown throughout a lot of the stress that we've all gone through in the past 2 years. And I have total faith that these partnerships will exist past this grant, which I think is the thing that I'm maybe most proud of here. So that's it. That's me. I will show you my face briefly. Hard for me to want to tell this story because I kept wanting to tell a story about the thing that we said we wanted to build. And I kept feeling like, well, it's not really in a place where I feel like that's our story. And I don't want to tell a story because we're trying to co-create it. And I don't want to, sort of own that story when we're still trying to make sure that everyone feels like it will be their story. And it really, it's talking to Damon that like he's so good about being like, no, but what you just said there, exactly what you were saying about what distracted you this week, right? The work you were doing that you felt like you left you with no time to make your story for storytelling, right? He's amazing at reminding you that that is the work. And that is really the story of community change. And it's, when you're in academia or some of these big bureaucracies, I think it's so easy to get caught with that goal oriented, right? Like you have to do your annual review and you're like, how much progress did I make toward the thing that I said I was going to do? And this is just a different way of being, I think. And it's been amazing to have the guidance of ABCD along the way.
Thank you.